Welcome to Amir Shakil 5858, the War and Love Report. I am Amir Goodnam. History is being written in United States. First time ever a US former president has been criminally charged with conspiring to overturn an election. On Tuesday, Trump was indicted on 4 counts: conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, tampering with a witness, and conspiracy against the civil rights of citizens, the right of their vote to be counted. The indictment centers on Trump's efforts to stay in office after Joe Biden defeated him in November 2020. Trump, who is the Republican front-runner in the 2024 election, now faced 2 federal indictments as well as a state indictment, a criminal case in New York. No other US president has ever been indicted before. Trump also faces a possible 4th indictment in Georgia for election interference. Let's hear the Jack Smith, the special counsel.
On our nation's capital on January 6th, 2021, was an unprecedented assault on the seat of American democracy. As described in the indictment, it was fueled by lies. Lies by the defendant targeted at obstructing a bedrock function of the U.S. government, the nation's process of collecting, counting, and certifying the results of the presidential election.
Trump lawyers John Larrow decried the indictment as a, quote, attack on free speech and political advocacy. The 45-page indictment also references 6 unnamed co-conspirators. It's believed the list includes 4 of Trump lawyers: Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman, Sidney Powell, and Kenneth Chesebro. Justice Department official. Mr. Trump's trial has been assigned to District Judge Tanya Chutkan. She is an Obama appointee who's already overseen numerous cases linked to the January 6th insurrection, often sentencing defendants to longer terms than the prosecutors sought. In a related development, prosecutors in Michigan have charged two Trump allies over their attempts to illegally access and tamper with voting machines following the 2020 election. Matthew DiPerno unsuccessfully ran as a Republican candidate to become Michigan's Attorney General last year. Michigan's Attorney General last year, Durandon, is a former Republican state representative. They were both arraigned due back in court next. Now let's hear a report by Christian Walker of NBC about Mr. Trump's response to the recent indictments.
Tonight, former President Trump firing back, accusing federal prosecutors of targeting him again because he's the strong Republican frontrunner against President Biden. Posting, why didn't they bring this case 2.5 years ago? They wanted it right in the middle of my campaign. That's why. The dramatic 3rd indictment of Mr. Trump with the potential to shake up the GOP race. Some rivals are starting to sharpen their tone, including Mr. Trump's former Vice President Mike Pence, who cited in the indictment refusing his boss's request not to certify President Biden's election win.
Anyone who puts himself over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. And anyone who asks someone else to put themselves over the Constitution should never be president of the United States again.
But Mr. Trump's top Republican challenger, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, criticizing the indictment, that could land with a jury in deep blue Washington, D.C.
A D.C. jury would indict a ham sandwich and convict a ham sandwich if it was a Republican ham sandwich. I think Americans need to be able to remove cases out of D.C.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy dismissing the indictments as DOJ's attempt to distract from Republicans' investigation of the Biden family finances. With each new indictment, Mr. Trump has expanded his lead, making his growing legal peril a regular rally talking point.
Our enemies want to stop me because I am the only one who's going to be able to stop them.
But while his legal battles have been a political boost, they've also taken a financial toll, draining Mr. Trump's campaign cash. His main political action committee spending $20 million on legal fees this year. Tonight, voters reacted.
I'm delighted, absolutely delighted. If ever he has earned and deserved something, it's another indictment.
For me, it will not affect how I vote. If he's on the ballot, my plan is to vote for him. For me, it's about the economy.
And Kristen, join.
Paul Rubin, commonly known as Pee Wee Herman, has died. He had a cancer and he died at the age of 70. He was an actor and comedian. He distributed laugh to the people. He was a star in CBS show. He was also in a blockbuster film which was released in 1985. Children loved that movie. The American Civil Liberties Union of Colorado has sued the FBI, the Colorado Springs Police Department, and local officers for illegally searching the private Facebook messages of a local activist in the Chinook Center, a community organizing hub in Colorado Springs. The police also accessed the activist's cell phone, laptop, and external hard drives. This comes after revelation the FBI had infiltrated the Chinook Center by sending an undercover Colorado Springs detective to volunteer at the center in 2020. This was part of a broader FBI effort to infiltrate racial justice groups in Colorado after the police killing of George. In Argentina, thousands of people representing different indigenous communities arrived in Buenos Aires Tuesday as part of a protest caravan. Among their demand as a halt to lithium mining projects and their territories. Protesters said there are multinational companies that come and take the lithium from Argentina, but leave nothing behind. They don't leave anything for Argentina development, and they strip the communities of their territory. That is genocide. Lithium is used in many electric devices, including electric cars, but its extraction causes soil degradation, water shortages, damage to ecosystems, and often displaces local communities and destroys existing landscapes. Sweden has defended its free speech laws and says it has no plans to change them, and it's too growing backlash to public burnings of the Korans. The burning, which have also taken place in Denmark, have triggered widespread international condemnation and protests in Muslim countries. In New York, hundreds of migrants have been forced to sleep on the streets as Mayor Eric Adams declared there is no more room. He called out the Biden administration for failing to help as over 90,000 people arrived in New York City over the past year and a half. In July, the mayor said New York City would distribute flyers at the US-Mexico border, telling asylum seekers to consider another city. Housing and rights activists have blasted the Adams administration for handling of the situation. An immigrant activist says that this is another slap in the face. historical New Yorkers who have been here and most recent arrivals who just seeking a little bit of help in this movement. We need to actually help or stop doubling and tripling down on broken system like our emergency shelter system and actually invest in getting people out of emergency shelter and into permanent housing. New York officials are calling on the federal government to allow for expedited work permits for asylum seekers. A trucking company, Yellow, is shutting down and will reportedly file for bankruptcy. 30,000 could lose their jobs. The president of the Teamster, which represents over two-thirds of Yellow workers, said, quote, Yellow is starkly proving that it could not manage itself despite billions of dollars in worker concessions and hundreds of millions in bailout funding from the federal government, unquote. Yellow received $700 million from the government in a pandemic era bailout, despite the company facing a lawsuit from the Justice Department for allegedly defrauding the federal government. Now let's hear a report by Kristen Walker of NBC about Mr. Trump's response to the recent indictments.
Tonight, former President Trump firing back, accusing federal prosecutors of targeting him again because he's the strong Republican frontrunner against President Biden. Posting, why didn't they bring this case 2.5 years ago? They wanted it right in the middle of my campaign. That's why. The dramatic third indictment of Mr. Trump with the potential to shake up the GOP race. Some rivals are starting to sharpen their tone, including Mr. Trump's former Vice President Mike Pence, who cited in the indictment refusing his boss's request not to certify President Biden's election win.
Anyone who puts themselves over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. And anyone who asks someone else to put themselves over the Constitution should never be president of the United States again.
But Mr. Trump's top Republican challenger, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, criticizing the indictment that could land with a jury in deep blue Washington, D.C.
The D.C. jury would indict a ham sandwich and convict a ham sandwich if it was a Republican ham sandwich. I think Americans need to be able to remove cases out of D.C.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy dismissing the indictments as DOJ's attempt to distract from Republicans' investigation of the Biden family finances. With each new indictment, Mr. Trump has expanded his lead, making his growing legal peril a regular rally talking point.
Our enemies want to stop me because I am the only one who's going to be able to stop them.
But while his legal battles have been a political boost, they've also taken a financial toll, draining Mr. Trump's campaign cash. His main political action committee spending $20 million on legal fees this year. Tonight, voters reacting.
I'm delighted, absolutely delighted. If ever he has earned and deserved something, it's another indictment.
For me, it will not affect how I vote. If he's on the ballot, my plan is to vote for him. For me, it's about the economy.
And Kristen, join.
The man who killed 11 people in a synagogue shooting in Pittsburgh in 2018 has been sentenced to death by the jury. In Dayton, Ohio, a hostage standoff came to an end early today with police fatally shooting two suspects who would hijack a perfect parked semi-truck with the driver inside. Police said as officers approached the truck they were fired on. They returned fire, hitting both suspects, one male, one female, who died at hospital. The driver was safe. In America, people think recession will not come because the jobs are going.
3% coming from small business.
324,000 private jobs added in July, 73% coming from small businesses. The FBI is asking public help after a woman who was kidnapped has escaped from cinder block cell at home in Oregon. The FBI has released chilling photos of the makeshift cell used to shackle a woman they allege was kidnapped and sexually assaulted by 29-year-old Nagasi Zuberi, the married father, is now in police custody. The disturbing evidence uncovered to date points to individuals' ongoing and escalating pattern of violence targeting women. Colorado River is drying out due to the climate change, a report by Weather Department. Today is a historic day because today is the first president of the America will appear in the court in Washington D.C. In Washington D.C., the police have taken necessary measures to provide security to everybody. 86 years old Pope opened the Youth Day in Portugal. More than 1 million people are expected to participate in this Youth Day. Canadian Prime Minister Mr. Trudeau, 51 years old, has announced on Instagram that he is separating from his wife, and he will inform the nation about his future plans. He has 3 kids. Taylor Swift has given $55 million to his all workers as a bonus because she has made more than $1 billion in her concerns. On Wall Street, Dow Jones decreased 1%, S&P 500 decreased 1.38%, and Nasdaq decreased 2%. I am thankful to all news resources for their continuous cooperation. I am also thankful to the viewers for their privilege of time. Have a good night.